Good, thank you. Counsel, as counsel was not eloquent enough to know there was two forms. The only counsel I knew growing up had an estate at the back of it, and that was us. Young, daft boys. We lacked intention, lacked aspiration, imagination, and we didn't have the perception to know where life was actually going. There was loads of us. If you'd seen us, we would have thought we're a gang, but if you knew us, we were just all pals. We ended up spending summers down the back, drinking, smoking, eating stuff that we shouldn't have been eating. But the people we looked about and we thought, they've sussed it, they've made it, these guys. They were the guys that we were buying stuff off of. How wrong we were. But as I say, with no perception of where life was going, years went by, literally sitting down the back. During the winter, we would shuffle down each other's houses, try to hide away from the cold, with a pungent smell that gave away the fact that we were there, so we were unavoidable. But how many people have a pivotal point in their life that they look back on and change? Happened. Could be a few, could be one. I'll tell you a wee story about where mine came from. I was on the sesh, the usual, just being an absolute idiot. Thinking I was living the rock star life, but I wasn't playing music and didn't have any money. I was just floating about and wasting all the time that I had. I gets home and I phoned my big pal, the Russian, and I'm going to tell him about the madness that he's missed for the night before. And he cuts me off. He says, "You've not seen your dad, have you?" And at this point, I'm staying with my dad. My mum's kicked me out. She's had enough. She couldn't cope with it anymore. She'd punted my dad a few months before. She'd punted me at the back of him just because I was just being an idiot. Just wasn't toeing the line. I thought, I've not seen my dad, no. What's going on? He says, "I'd advise you to get a hold of him." I knew that if he knew that my dad knew what I was up to, I was in the shit, for want of a better word. So I eventually caught up with my dad with a couple of issues that we had to resolve, and he helped me with that. And I remember clear as day, sitting in his wee Audi TT. He'd just kind of started turning his own life around and he's bought himself this wee TT. The original one, silver, the best one, the only colour you could have it in. We're driving in this roundabout, we've sorted out all the rubbish. And I says to him, "This is the moment. What happens now?" As we drive round this roundabout, he says, "What are you talking about?" I says, "Am I out?" "Nah, you're not out." I was like, "So what is it then? What are we doing?" And he says to me, "We're fixing this. You're fixing this." He says, "You're going to get some form of education. I don't care what it is, but you're going to get educated." A couple of years before, school had asked me to leave because I didn't turn up to class. I'd just sit round the back doing stupid stuff. So I didn't have a lot to fall back on. And at that point, that feeling just of the disappointment in my dad for just knowing that, feeling like I was down there, and he realising he was the last person to see that I actually had a bit of potential and it wasn't just going to go to waste, and demand that I make a change. I remember sitting in that car thinking, this is it, this is the point. From that point on, I didn't sell anything else unless it was metal and had 4 tyres on it. That was it. I turned it on, got into the motor trade, and at that point, now that I moved towards this counselling, I understand the power of what my dad had done my whole life. Now, I thought my dad didn't say much. My dad's quiet, he's insightful, he doesn't say loads and he'll not give you a lot of advice. He's counselled me my whole life, for the point where I had reached rock bottom and I was putting it all to waste by asking me the odd pointing question, and when I gave him an answer, maybe reflecting it back to me. But as I learned through counselling, there's a process called introjected beliefs. And that's when you take on the beliefs of other people, you internalise them, and you take them on as part of your beliefs. And that's what led me into the motor trade for all those years, because the wee Audi TT went in for a service in 2007. And as we walked across the car park, my dad says to me, "That must be the best job in the world, eh?" 4 years later, I started in that very building, doing that exact same thing. And my honest opinion, for me, don't meet your heroes. But I realised that wasn't my hero, that was my dad's hero. That's what he wanted to do, and I've tried to live that out, unaware for him. My career progressed and I moved on to Land Rover. And the second revolutionary point in my life was meeting this one crazy guy. He came in, he had haunted the sales team. He wanted to buy this car, he knew everything about it. We didn't, because it was a Jeep and we were just trying to sell this thing on. 5 salespeople have spoke to him and they're all saying, "Kieran, go and kick this guy out because he's wasting our time." So I marched down in a bad mood, and straight away the guy's energy caught me like that. And I ended up speaking to him more about books that I'd read and my thought processes on different things. And he says to me, "There's something you're maybe interested in. It's called the 3 Principles of Psychology." And for that meeting him, for where my dad had got me out of the bottom to where I was, to realising that that wasn't me, that was him, to then finding my purpose, like Gary's saying, and living through my purpose and finding my gift. I've set up a company called Life Performance, and the 1 is the 1 person, the 1 body, that's health. The 3 principles of psychology, for this chance meeting of what was termed as the madman that was just haunting us all. My calling and my purpose and what I'm driven to do is I now realise that my dad seen a potential in me that I didn't see. He was the last person that just hadn't gave up. What I now do is through the 1, the health, the fitness, is find people that's moving along that path. They've lost a bit of intention, direction, and we find that. And through self-confidence, ability, and a bit of self-belief through what you can actually do with your physical body, backed up with the 3 principles of psychology, we build a person that then becomes happy, secure, and a bit more fulfilled. Thank you. Toastmaster. Cheers. Thank you.